Okay, part two. Here we go. So I had to focus on the divorce, and that took 9 months, give or take, from when she served me with papers, and I had to bend what little I had towards trying to fight through the divorce. My ex-wife tried to get the house and custody of our son and everything. She would have been just fine, apparently, to put me out homeless on the street with a shot heart. And doesn't seem like it would have tripped her up at all. This is the person I loved and trusted most in this entire world, and it just goes to show you, people can turn on you in the blink of an eye, and you don't even have to know what you did. I mean, I'm the first person to stand up and say I was not perfect. I was not a perfect husband. I had a lot of shit going on, pardon my French, cancer. It was tough, and she was not supportive or, there for me. She did not really provide me a shoulder to lean on. I had to internalize it and deal with it alone. Except for, when I could see my parents. She seemed to hold that against me, that I could see my parents on a constant basis because they lived, 40 minutes away. And her mom and older sister lived 3 hours away in the Tampa St. Pete area. And her twin sister lived at the time in Tennessee and then Illinois. And for some reason she held that against me. Go figure. But she was not supportive or, there for me mentally, emotionally. So I had a lot to deal with on my own, and no, I was not the perfect husband. She never seemed to hold it against me that I made so much less than her. She, in fact, was one of those that in the beginning, she quite liked the fact that she made more than I did. And it didn't bother me. We were together, and, we made what we made, and we contributed what we contributed, and it was okay. She seemed to take issue with me having to quit work and not contribute to the household as much, even though I still contributed where I could. And then when I got approved for disability in 2019, I focused, most of my monthly income on taking care of the house, the property, and helping take care of our son. And, she always said that was fine, but like behind the scenes, she was holding it against me that I wasn't contributing more. So yeah, I had a lot of, like I said, I had a lot of shit to deal with, and I was not as, I guess, present as I should have been, could have been. I don't know. I like I said, I still don't understand entirely, what happened. I was trying, I was really trying. to make her happy and you know, meet her expectations, but I guess I couldn't do it. And she got to a point where she was not willing to try to work with me, although she did not tell me that. She said that she was planning this for about a year, and I had no idea. You know, like I said, we had our issues. Everybody does, but this was very hard. Very hard for me. It's very hard for my son. She had the, you know, pharmacy career. I had basically had to give mine up, you know. I didn't have anything, and I had nowhere else to go. I had no friends. I had one friend, and he lives over an hour away from me. Working man like I used to be. And, you know, he can't just absorb me. And my parents, they live in the next county over. But they, at the time, and still really don't legitimately have a place for me. They live in a very old and run-down mobile home. It's all they have. And I have actually tried to, you know, talk to them over the past few years about maybe moving in with me. But, you know, like this is for me, this is all I have. You know, what they have is all they have left to show for, you know, all the years that they broke their backs and put into the system. You know, my house here is all I have left to show for the last 20 years. You know, breaking my ass, working real hard jobs, you know, 12, 14-hour days in warehouses and pipe and precast plants, and then, you know, doing the pest control. And I was the problem solver technician for our entire territory, which was a massive chunk of Florida, you know, from the state line and sometimes north of it to as far south as South Daytona and all up and down the coast, and all the way across the state. I had days where my day started, you know, here in St. Augustine and ended in Cedar Key, which is a very small island community on the Gulf Coast, you know. So I'm driving clear across the state. I was working, you know, I was 16, 18 hours with that job sometimes, just driving, you know. Go way up into the northwestern portion of the state, almost into the Panhandle, you know. Live Oak, Mayo, Perry. I was turning and burning with that job, and you know, all I have left is, you know, what was supposed to be the center point of mine and my wife's forever. We bought this house at the end of 2014, right after we had both completed cancer treatment. Oddly enough, she was diagnosed with stage 1 thyroid cancer right after I finished mine. And it was so weird. And, you know, she had to have her thyroid removed, and she took 2 radioactive iodine pills, and she's been cancer-free ever since, and will continue to be, knock on wood. I was not so fortunate. But even back then, we were like, well, the couple that has cancer together stays together. It didn't work out like that, though, did it? So, we bought this house, and it was our new start, our new lease on life. We had met in June of 2011. I proposed to her in June of 2012. Most romantic, gutsiest thing I've ever done in my life. And we got married in June of 2013. And, we were talking about buying a house, preferably out here in St. Augustine. And we found this place, and it was perfect, Got a little space. It's not a big house, by any means, but it is a 2-story, like a little farmhouse. And it was everything. It was the start of our lives together, It's going to be the seed of our family. We were going to have kids and raise them up here and grow old together here and die here and all that romantic bullshit that never seems to happen nowadays. I always looked at my folks and that was what I wanted. My folks have been together almost 43 years and they couldn't imagine life apart. And that's what I wanted, Me and my wife, we used to go to Village Inn. It's kind of a IHOP, like country diner type place. If you don't know Village Inn, it's a chain. And we'd sit in the booth and we'd order our favorite meals, and it would just be a weekend treat, date night, whatever. Sometimes we'd go for breakfast, and we'd see cute little old couples in there in their 80s and 90s, and still holding hands and still flirting, and I would say, if I have that, then I have all a man ever needs. And I thought that's what we had, but it wasn't. So we went through the divorce, and because of my health and because of some admittedly dirty tricks she tried to pull during the divorce, and the fact that I was not as stupid as she apparently took me for, I managed to make out better than a lot of men do. I kept the house, and most importantly, I got 50-50 custody of our son. Like I said, I raised him for the most part until he was 4, and she did the divorce. And really for a good portion of his life thereafter, because she still had a full-time job, and I wasn't doing anything except trying to figure out how I was going to do life. I got really low in December of 21, and I almost did something really stupid. I was alone, and she, had our son down in the St. Pete area for Christmas with her family, and I was hurting, and I was scared, and I didn't know what or how I could go on, so I hurt myself a little bit, but I didn't go all the way through with it, and it was my son that kept me from doing that. You know, I tried not to think about him, but at the last minute, it was like I could hear his voice, and I couldn't think about anything but him. You know, and I had gone out in the middle of a forest near some hiking trails that she and I used to love to go hiking on, walk the dogs on. And that's where I was going to do this. And I had myself a nice little breakdown out there in the woods. Got soaked in the rain. But I got up, you know, I picked myself up and I walked out of there and promised myself I would never do something so stupid again. Because you know, taking myself away from the pain of losing, you know, my everything was not going to be as bad as the pain I was going to cause my son. So I promised myself I would never get so low again, and that I would always fight and push and keep going for my son, if nothing else. And I came out okay in the divorce. She had all the money, but I managed to qualify for a mortgage on my home, and I had Social Security disability coming in, and I have managed to make a pretty good go of it for the last 4 years. It's been really hard, you know, for my son. He has not taken the divorce well. He saw, you know, from the beginning that she's the one that left, and she's the one that changed. And, you know, I never talked about it, you know, the divorce with him, you know, like we weren't supposed to. But I didn't know how to fake being okay with it. I tried, you know, but he could see that it wasn't something I wanted. It put a strain on his relationship with his mother that she now continues to try to force to be fixed. But, you know, even now he constantly says, Daddy, I wish I could just live with you full time. You know, she had a boyfriend that she was engaged to right when she left me, probably before. And she tried to force him on my son. My son didn't like him. My son was afraid of him. She tried to force him into a stepfather role, and my son resented her for that. And he still kind of resents her. I try to help him through it. I try to, you know, help him to not break his relationship with his mom any more than what it is. But it's really hard. She went and spent a week in New Orleans for work this last October, and you know, he and I were together for 6 days. It was glorious because I usually don't get him for that long. I usually get him for like 3 days a week. And the day she was coming back, I said, hey, Mom's coming home today. Are you excited to see her? And he kind of mulled it over and he said, well, I'm excited to see Roxy. I'm not really excited to see Mom. And Roxy is the dog that they had together, which she just got rid of yesterday. And I implored her not to get rid of that dog. She fostered this dog. She tried to get involved with a local foster program. And she had a child that's kind of emotionally vulnerable. Our son has mild autism and mild ADHD, and, you know, going through all this mess with the divorce and, you know, still it being affected by it. She fostered this dog, and the dog was too much for her. My ex-wife, unfortunately, is a very lazy individual, and the dog was constantly getting out and wanting to go to the dog park, and my ex-wife could not seem to find the time. So she wanted to get rid of the dog, and my son had bonded with this dog. You know, we've got our dogs here. I got 2 dogs here that he loves and I would never get rid of. But he also loved and bonded with this dog that they had at her house. And she got rid of this dog. So, that's just one more reason for him to resent her, and I just don't understand her, you know. But that's not pertinent to the story. That's just what's going on, you know. It's here and now. So I managed, after the divorce was finalized, you know, I managed on my own and was barely managing to keep afloat. And then in October of 2023, my son got caught hand, foot, and mouth disease at school. It's an affliction that typically is seen in you know, toddlers or young school-age children, preschool. It comes from a bacteria, you know, that comes from, you know, going to the bathroom and then not washing your hands properly and then touching your face. Excuse me. Oh, God. And he probably got it, you know, from another little kid that had it at school. They played on the playground together, you know, touching each other. And so he got it. It's common. I never heard of it till he had it. But my ex-wife was planning a trip up to Illinois to visit her twin sister and see her brand new baby for the end of the month. She did not want to get hand, foot, and mouth disease. And she asked me if I would keep my son for the duration. She, of course, was planning to take my son with her, but she wanted to minimize the infection in her household. And, you know, this is my son, so of course I'm going to, you know, take care of him. I'm not going to turn him away. And I didn't really think about the fact, you know, what could this mean for my reduced immune system? My son, when he gets sick, he's very needy. You know, he's constantly in my face, in my lap, and, you know, just sleeping in my lap and whatnot. And, you know, that's my son. I mean, he could have had leprosy, and I wouldn't ever push him away, you know. But I caught it, and you know, the skin around your face, around your mouth, the palms of your hands, and the soles of your feet, it swells up, and then it starts to break up and peel off. You know, you can peel your hands and your feet and your face like a banana. It's weird. You know, he got through it in about 2 weeks and was good. You know, and they went on their little trip and everything was fine. I got it and it wouldn't go away, and I got sicker with it, you know, and then finally it started to break and finally it started to go away. My hands and feet swelled and they peeled. After my feet peeled, I had a pressure ulcer on each foot. I have diabetes. I've had diabetes, you know, type 2 since 2011. But I manage it fairly well, you know. I have to live on the leanest, cheapest kind of diet, so I don't always eat the healthiest of foods, but I still, you know, do the best I can to manage my blood sugar, and I can usually keep it in a, you know, normal range. So the diabetes didn't cause the ulcers, but I'm sure it didn't help. But I had these pressure ulcers, one on each foot. And I went to the ER, and doc said the main, the probably the easiest way to fix them would be to do like a synthetic graft. We'd have to do it in the OR. Well, anesthesiology wouldn't put me under because of my heart. So they wanted me to see all these different doctors to greenlight anesthesia. And I'm sure, all of you know that long gone are the days of scheduling an appointment with this doctor or that doctor, just in a couple of days or, maybe next week. A lot of doctors are scheduling weeks and even months out, including my GP. It was 2 months before I could get into cardiology. I'm hitting my time limit, so I'm going to stop it here, and I'll pick up the third part here in just a second.